just smears or spinach in it. There's spaghetti models and empty rum bottles, and sometimes Louis says hi. Hey, Louis! But you don't get no hurries and don't have no worries, cause we're drunk donkey nationwide. Everybody now. Finds where the page. You know he'll be tracking every move that makes. You know it's finds where the page. You know he won't let us all get blown away. Did I ever tell you the story of the drunk donkey? Once upon a time, there was this weather woman. You can come as a pilot, stay kind of quiet, but you know you love watching my space. Yes, what you do? So put your cone head shirt on, watch it live on your phone, and drink drunk donkey beer all day. Here we go now. Mike's Web Page. You know he'll be tracking every move that makes. You know it's Mike's Web Page. You know he won't let us all get blown away. Is that Blobby Bobby? I think that's Juicy Jerry. Yeah, Mike, throw a party, man.
Woo! I'm out of breath. My Alexa ignored me. We all set our Alexas back about what? How many years ago do you think that was, everybody? 3 or 4 years ago? And every day, 365 days a year, my Alexa goes off at 9:19 in the morning. Both dogs were settled on my lap, so peaceful. I had to jump up just now, go unplug it. So we're all hyper now. But yeah, Alexa was disconnected. What are you doing? You want to play with your brother now all of a sudden? But it was long ago. How's everybody doing? 5 years ago. I bet it was. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is a little long ago. He's 14 weeks this week. Got some weather to talk about. We got Tropical Storm Aaron. We're going to dive into everything. Got some spinach out there, Josh. Yep. Still showing a curve. Not going to hype anything. Try to give you all the latest, all the scenarios and where we're at. So you can count on that. But I appreciate you coming in. So I'm coming to you live from Oldsmar. Welcome if you're new. Long goes new. I am not a meteorologist. Always refer to your National Hurricane Center and local meteorologists for official information. Remember, I only cover the whole world. Okay? I think a lot of folks associate me with Tampa only because I live in Tampa. And I think a lot of times people think I hype because I'm continuing to talk about a system that might not affect where you live or where I live. So try not to let that sway you if I continue to talk about a storm if it's not coming to Florida, because I have a lot of followers in the Caribbean, a lot of followers in Barbados and the Bahamas and the Turks, and Longo's trying to jump back on my lap again. Of course, Bermuda and all everywhere. So I think that's definitely a big reason a lot of Tampa people think sometimes I hype, because I'll continue to talk about a system when it's not coming. Because our local Mets, they're not gonna post 24/7 the storm not coming to Florida like I am. So anyway, just a little tidbit. So there we go. We're gonna tell you all the latest. Hey, yesterday was first day of school, Louis. He was so sad. Not only did he lose Hunter, then he lost Emily, and then yesterday Sarah went off to school. So we were both kind of walking around lost yesterday. but he'll adjust. The OG. So ABC always supports teachers. We love that. One more time, Longo jumped up on my lap again, so we're going to put them both down. They can go play now. All the teachers in Florida, not only do they head there for their storm supplies during hurricane season, they also go there the first day of school. Because you might need a little help to get through the school year. So big thanks to ABC. And here was Sarah's picture yesterday. Oh my goodness, you guys overwhelmed. I think it was one of my biggest posts ever. It was like 30, 40,000 likes. So she had a great first day. Many of y'all remember when we had Sarah, because both of my kids are younger than when I started MWP. So started MWP 2 years before Emily was born. So a lot of y'all have been watching these kids grow up. Appreciate that. Here's current radar. Let's just show you this real quick, and then we'll say hello for a few more minutes. Let me just leave the radar up and say hello. Where's everybody coming in from? So we're streaming live on Facebook. Hello, Facebook. YouTube. Hello, YouTube. And X. Hello, X. And, of course, our MWP chat, MWP Brew crew. Hope everybody's having a good morning. And that's radar. So, local weather first, real quick. A lot of rain. Still got that old leftover lingering front. It's crazy. This blob over here, still marked by the NHC, still 0%. But that's the basic place of our Gulf low. Not expected to develop. We got some lingering rains in coastal Carolina still. We got a flood outlook today. Still upper Gulf there, Mississippi. Upper Mississippi, Alabama there, a little bit of Florida and Louisiana. So that could be those lingering rains coming up today. So more rain. Are you tired of the rain yet? Jenny, good morning. GM. Hello, TikTokers, if you're watching. Valrico, North Fort Myers. What's up, Andrew? From Jacksonville, home of Leonard Skinner. Valdosta, home of onions. Or no, that's Vidalia. Sorry, Josh. I got the first letter right. V. Vidalia onions. Oh, so there you go. Rain, rain, rain. Merritt Island, what's up? Snap Bay over there. Gus, good morning. I saw James over there. And Richard, hello. Top of the morning to you. All right, so there's the flooding rains. Not flooding, but heavier rains. All right, here's the outlook. These come out, I think, every day now. These are day 3 to day 7 outlooks. Kind of gives you an idea. Not today, not tomorrow, but down the road. Hazardous heat. We got a big old high pressure building back in. This was all signs of Aaron helping develop Aaron into a possible hurricane. We talk about hurricane heat. Doesn't mean it's going to hit Florida. It just means we usually have a big high pressure developing over the southeast Atlantic that helps ventilate a system, create conditions favorable for development, and there you go. So we're going to have some hazardous heat this week as Aaron's going to be brewing off to the east. Okay, here's the tropics map. They did put a little circle out there. I felt like victory. Went to bed the other night, and I kind of put soapbox, thinking we should have had at least a circle just to identify we had a little low pressure. That's all these circles are, identifications of low pressure. We didn't. We had a lot of flooding in Sanibel, Lee, Collier counties, Pinellas County, and then now we got a little circle. But there you go. Not expected to develop. I don't know what that other little yellow circle is. Invest 96 was up to 40%. It fizzled. This is leftover coastal area, apparently. It's fizzling. All we're going to worry about is Aaron. This is where Aaron's at. A couple things to note. Aaron's pretty north still. A little bit of dip south, but the system's a little more north than normal. There is a graphic going around showing statistically where Aaron was yesterday coming off around the Cape Verde Islands. 5 or 6% of hurricanes over there reached the continental U.S. So it's in a low chance area historically that it's not going to curve, okay? It doesn't mean it won't. Just means historically it's in an area, okay? And as you know, we look at all scenarios and we all remember storms have curved. Many of them curve, many of them recurve, many of them miss Bermuda. But we've had a couple outliers that, kept chugging west, and that's what we're going to watch for. A couple scenarios. One would be if Aaron was extremely weak, it would follow more lower level winds, and it would drive a little farther west. That, high pressure builds back in stronger than expected, like it did with storms like Irma, it'll push a little farther west. If this front coming across Canada isn't that strong, so there's a lot of ifs, but you look at the majority. All we can do at this time is look at the consistency, the majority, and until we see anything really change, then there's no point up. Oh, that was my little tripod thingy. So we're not going to make anything up. We're going to talk about the what ifs, but I don't want that message to seem like the what ifs outweigh the majority right now, which the majority is Caribbean watching, including Southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, but definitely Bermuda is the only one right now that has a lot of model support going that direction. But I'm going to show you all the latest. How do you like that? Here's what it looks like satellite-wise now. The yellow X, Amy, is just an old leftover low pressure area. Okay, that's what came up. That's what helped bring all those rains. And some dude said I was panicking. Whatever, man. If you think, nope, not going to read anymore. Nope. Sorry, Sean. What were we talking about? The yellow X. Oh, the yellow X is just a low pressure area that's sliding up. That's not expected to develop, but it's more just so you can read what it's doing. Disorganized showers, And if you're curious too, go back to the yellow X and just kind of hover your mouse over it, and it'll tell you surface trough, development not expected, heavy rainfall, flash flooding. There you go. So, hope that helps. All right. So what's interesting about this, man? It looks kind of like a system, doesn't it? That's current now. This is a convection map. 12 inches, 13 hours. That's nuts. Yeah, Sanibel did post from National Weather Service that they had a record. Somebody said, yeah, most of the models are recurving. Yes, and there's nothing that I have not shared that's not saying that. So it did bump a little bit to the west last night, and I'm going to show you that. So there was some chatter, a lot of chatter about that, and I chimed in on that. But the big picture didn't really change too much. Oh, what's up, Miss Bobby? Pompano. What's up, Michael Anderson? Oh, thanks, Liz. I appreciate that. I try not to be. Hugo, Matthew, Florence. I mean, all these storms. Until we start to see consistent outliers, though, and reasoning. I remember Sandy. We started seeing half the models off the Atlantic and the other half towards the East Coast. And even though Irma had a lot of models going out to sea, there was still a couple outliers heading more west, and we're not really seeing that consistency. The Euro AI is the only one that has a bigger fan, and I don't know how it's performing, to tell you the truth. So yeah, somebody just mentioned. All right, so this is what it looks like. So there's not a lot of convection. That's storm activity, cold, warm cloud tops here. You can see it almost. It's not a naked swirl yet, but it's moving 22 miles an hour. That's very fast for a tropical system. Okay. Now Longo jumps up here. He wants to be up here. We could just put him on my shoulder. I'll put him on my lap. The problem is I got to put my damn legs together because he falls through. All right, I got a good spot for him right now. That's good. You're a good boy. See, look. What do you think? Look, see him? He's happy. All right, so now a lot of convection. One thing to note, it's moving super duper fast. Another thing to note, there's a lot of dry air. And, but it's got a lot of spin to it. And there is moisture. I'm going to show you that. And one thing I noticed this morning, there's a lot of moisture pulling in from the north. A lot of systems this year had zero moisture to the north, and they eventually wrapped in enough dry air to help, make them go poof. This one's got a lot of moisture around it, so it's not expected. And I noticed that on one of our graphics, Joe over here shared me. We have a lot of humidity still, even though it looks like a lot of dry air, still kind of a moist atmosphere. But it doesn't have a lot of convection. So one thing I'll be keeping an eye on, we've seen systems in the past keep going more west because they were weak. Weaker waves go west. So, it's very common. If a system does not organize as fast as it's supposed to, it'll trick the models, and it could go a little farther to the west. Those are big ifs, but in the next 2 days, this thing makes its way across cooler waters and dry air, that would be one of the outlier scenarios. Everybody wants to know what, we know what the majority's saying, but what would cause this to keep going a little bit to the west? And one of them would be a weaker system building high pressure that kind of puts it, but that's not really showing. Not a prediction, just it's too far away right now. We don't see any outliers, we don't see any shifts, but there you go. Thought I had another graphic up. Where did it go? There it is right here. This one is a great one. It's showing you convection over the low level spin, and it's doing pretty good. I mean, the white clouds are hanging over top of the true center. Maybe the lower center might be out racing the convection a little bit. But it's got a lot of spin to it. That's one thing that this system has that others this season have not. Here's the latest cone. These come out at 5 o'clock, 11 o'clock Eastern. We had one this morning at 5. And hey Ian, what's up, buddy? Second wave might be interesting, Osceola. Yep, we get that high pressure build back in unless it just follows this one. But so this morning, 5 o'clock, this came out, and I think I edited it because I just put the 5 o'clock advisory. But it's what happens after this that is. This makes it look like it's heading right toward the Bahamas and Florida, right? And that's what a lot of folks see when they see this, and it could. I mean, that's why the NHC doesn't go out 5 days. But one thing that we do here with spaghetti models and using all the great tools that are out there is show what the longer range is looking like, and that's where the rest of the story is. Harvey would say, or Harvey. What was his name? What was that guy's name? Who was Harvey? Who was that guy? What's his full name? That is the rest of the story. Remember, I loved driving back roads back in the day and listening to radio and NASCAR radio, and then hearing Paul Harvey on the end of the end of a news, 30-minute show. It would be his little story. It's pretty cool. So anyway, if you're curious when the next update is, it'll be out usually right around quarter till the hour. So another hour, we'll get a new track. And notice that little bend. It is moving 22 miles an hour. Expected to be a major hurricane. They have adjusted the track a little bit to the left each time. Not a lot, just a little bit. So the NHC track has bumped a little bit more to the west. That's facts. It's expected to reach an area of warmer water and less dust and little less forward speed, and all that should add up to a little better conditions. So this is where it's going to be sometime Tuesday. Now listen, the cone's getting awfully close to the islands here, okay? So remember, the cone is anywhere that the eye can go. So anybody in that Caribbean needs to be watching super duper close. Obviously, in the next couple of days, especially any trends that we see with any more bumps to the west. And 11 o'clock update, we should start to see a little bit more curve on the 5-day run. Hopefully, if anything, just to build confidence for everybody worried about the East Coast, which majority are saying no. Real quick, the timing of winds, all these links I got on the website, and God, this little guy, man, he is so cute. And on the app. Pamela from Puerto Rico, definitely watching. You're right on the edge. Right now, it's not a huge system, and there's not a lot of moisture. And usually, a system that's moving really fast might take more time to get more, wider presence. So it could be more of a tight system right now. Until it gets into these warmer waters and maybe tries to start, expanding a little bit. But your earliest reasonable time that you might see tropical storm force winds here would be Friday, okay? And that's the northern half of the islands there. So we got a lot of people down there watching. That's only 3-4 days from now. Today is Tuesday. That would be Friday. So last night, so I shared this run. I'll show you where it's at later. And the geeky weather nerds like me, I think it's really neat. This is a gentleman. His name is Brian Tang, and he's got Tomer Berg and Brian Tang both have amazing graphics, and I have them linked to the site here. If you go to my page, they're side by side right here. All this stuff right here, Berg guidance, Tang guidance, right there. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, but what it did was the each run is a darker shade of the run before. So you have dark going to light being the most earliest run, and the dark blue is the most recent run. And this was only shown last night. There was so much chatter last night about a big shift west that I felt like I needed to post on it too. And and it did. All these runs, this was a halves A, this is a halves B, this is, I think that's a GFS blend here. This is the HMOD, HWARF, and your TVCN line is the consensus line, which usually NAC follows, and it was a little bit. So that was where all that buzz came from. But notice, spaghetti models past this still are showing that. Here's the latest. All right, so we're going to do drum roll. Every time we do a live, the 6Zs are out when we start, and then the 12Zs get posted after we get going. And I always like to hit refresh. So we're looking at like the 70-degree line. We're looking at the 20-degree line. We're kind of getting an idea where the refresh is going to be. And I bet you a lot of these are going to go to the north. And they did. So, confidence. No big surprise, really. And this is the end of 7 days. I don't really see anything that stands out. TVCN's right in the middle usually. So there you go. It's pretty good confidence, right? I mean, we're not seeing any turning back like a Sandy. We're seeing once this thing gets that gap, pretty confident. I don't ever like to say never in the tropics. I don't want to be that. How do you balance saying we should never stop watching it, but we have so much confidence? Because tropics have, people that said that with Florence, people said that with a lot of storms. Things change, and you don't want to. And the number one comment, let me tell you. Hey, Jay, I was checking out the blob off Honduras, too. Not, stay the kid. No way anybody should be predicting a landfall anywhere on anything. But golly, Irma kind of did it. Yes, Kevin, a little bit. So I heard this comment a ton of times up in the Panhandle when it came to Hurricane Michael. When I go to the Gulf Coast Jam, I meet so many locals up there. Okay, the first forecast for Michael came out. It was going to be a tropical storm, and so many people told me that they stopped watching the news. Basically, they just, not on purpose, just that things sneak up on you. Fast-paced world we all live in. 3 days later, it's a Cat 5. So that's why I'm never going to be one to say this is a guaranteed fish storm, because A, we have a lot of watchers in Bermuda and the Caribbean, and we also have outliers, and we have past storms that show we can always have that chance. And how do you balance that without acting like it's going to happen? You just kind of remind everyone, this is what could cause it to happen. This has happened in the past. This is why we watch every 6-hour update with the models and try to really recognize trends as they're happening in real time. Always put the possibilities out there without making it sound like it's a forecast, I guess is what I'm saying. But when you see tight clustering of spaghetti models, confidence is high. You can't make something up and say, well, I think it's going to go way off to the west, because there's nobody else really thinking that, Here's your intensity models on tropicaltidbits.com, and obviously they're all growing. Some are Cat 3, so we got to watch for that as it gets past day 5. So these are your hours on the bottom. 5 days from now, 120. 6 days is 144, and 7 days 168. A couple of things I posted this morning I thought would be cool. This is kind of everything in a nutshell. The top right are your 500 millibar winds. That's what's driving our system westward. Strong 500 millibar winds. The curiosity is, will it dip south a little bit? It all depends a lot on how strong it gets in the meantime. If these winds take over and drives it a little to the south, but this is creating a fast forward moving system. The water vapor stood out to me more than anything. I circled it on the bottom. Usually last couple of waves that we saw were something that looks like the wave out in front. There wasn't any moisture to the north to pull in from. So one thing that caught my eye this morning was this moisture tail that's kind of wrapping into our system like that. And we have a lot of moisture to the south. So this has kind of created its own little bubble of moisture. But there is a lot of dust too. That's what's so tricky, is the dust forecast for tomorrow shows dust all around this system. So it's not the most ideal conditions for a system to try to develop. I shared in the past Irma's dust map as it came across, and it was a lot lighter than this. So just a little note, that's why most don't expect this to do anything in the next couple of days. And then, as every day we get a little closer, then that's an animated precipitable water map. But I wanted to point it out because look at this little spin in the atmosphere. I got to put you down, Longo. My arm is falling asleep, little guy. I'm so sorry. Everybody say goodnight to Longo. Say goodnight. He won't even be able to keep his eyes open. Look, he's like, oh, Dad. Oh, I can't keep my head open. So a couple of things I note here as I make it a little bigger is this moisture in the Gulf. It's got a little bit of spin to it, but that just shows you how much moisture is in the Gulf. These are your PWAP values, precipitable water values. That's the Gulf juice. It's been bringing crazy isolated rains heading up to the north today. But you can see the little spin coming off of Africa the last few days, and that interesting is how we had a dead spot of basically intertropics. He just wants to come up so bad. We had a gap in the intertropics convergence zone, and that allowed our system to lift to the north. And you can see it right here on the top side of this big broad spin from that. Pretty fascinating. And then the dusty dry map I wanted to show here, kind of this. Lots of red, lots of yellow, more than usual as far as any system that's going to be trying to develop. And this is kind of where we're at right here. Here's our system right there. I can't really see it right there. So it's kind of creating its own little bubble. But like I said, a lot of that moisture is coming in from the north, helping it hang on. So it's got to get through all that. That's what I'm getting at. And that's what everybody's expected. So let's close that, and then here's your cool map too. I showed it yesterday. This is showing you the sea surface temperature where we're at, and it's pretty chilly, 25, 26 degrees Celsius. So really not expected to be able to do much intensification over this cool of water. So once it gets past here, this would be 24 hours from now. 8:12. No. Oh, 24 hours from now. Yep. So that would be tomorrow. And then possibly reaching Cat 1 maybe Thursday. So that's just a cool map. It doesn't have any ocean heat content to deal with right now either. Once it starts heading west, it'll start dealing with deeper. But it really doesn't matter right now because it's going so fast. But still, all that is not ideal. High pressure. Yep, we're going to talk about that. This is a cool little map. I thought, I was like, what kind of stuff could I post today? Well, this kind of really puts it into perspective on timing. These are the 3 hurricane models, Haas and H. Wharf. And they're all kind of in the same, place, a little bit north of the Virgin Islands there. The serious stuff is north. Timing is all Sunday morning, 6Z, so right before daybreak there. So it kind of gives an idea where it's going to be this Sunday coming up. It's Tuesday now. Just sharing that alone, you see it and you're like, wow, that's pretty low, right? But then you compare it to the spaghetti models, and we're seeing that little bit of turn. So it is supposed to be here somewhere, but in that point of it, it's now not going this way; it's going that way. That's should be what's happening. History says it does. Here's the latest GFS 6Z ensembles, and listen. I mean, again, consistency, right? It would be so irresponsible to say, "Oh, I'm worried," or Florida should be really worried. Just aware. That's all. That's all. There's nothing showing that we should be worried. If there was a bunch of outliers, yeah, you'd be like raising it a little bit. But every run you look at, and you got this strong sense of what's going on. The 6Z sometimes isn't the best, but let's look at last night's 00Z to see if it comes up. There's last night's 00Z. So we had a couple outliers there, but again, majority. Here's your European latest run. You can see some going farther to the west. Keeping the Caribbean, Puerto Rico watching. Eventual turn. So. Liz, Irma, a little, maybe another day or two. Irma models shifted with some of these outliers over Florida. Majority of the Irma models were more eastern, off the East Coast, Western Atlantic, and then they just kept turning a little more to the west. Liz Golden, thank you. How about the Rays won last night? Ooh. Lord Andrew, how's it going, buddy? Be prepared, Angel. Yep. Cruising on 22nd to the Bahamas. Yeah, well, this one will be gone 10 days from now. Daytona's looking good. I ordered my pool. Trying to find firewood now is the next. I went into Ace. I'm like, y'all have firewood? They looked at me cross-eyed. It's 98 degrees out, and I'm asking for firewood. The A-Bear box. We'll talk about that. I'm glad you brought it up. Priscilla, always interesting to talk about the A-Bear box. Desiree, oh my goodness, how you doing? How is life? I'm getting old now. Woke up last night about 2, and I don't think I went back to sleep, so I'm dragging a little bit. Hopefully NASCAR race will be on. Heck yeah, Heather, because we're there. Coffee and Red Bull, Bobo. Well, hey, look. Well, I posted last night all the way to like 11:30, and then I somehow woke up about 2. So nothing's really brewing behind Aaron right now. Solid. There are a bunch of waves popping. So, yeah, Jay, there's probably plenty of wood up there, right? Daytona, I feel good about this, Seth. I don't see anything I'm worried about. I mean, that's just how I got to do it from here on out. Is every post should end with what we should still watch. And I know there's a lot of folks that think all this time wasted on talking about this, but for our, my perspective is we got a ton of people that watch this from all around, and it might not affect you, but it's going to affect somebody. So don't draw the conclusion because I'm still talking about it means I'm hyping it because it ain't coming to Tampa or the Gulf. So that's that. Let's see what else we can show you. I wanted to go to a couple other cool stuff here. So here's another graphic, kind of puts it into perspective. This is a blend of GFS, Euro, and a couple other of the models that kind of blend things together. Each cone is kind of like their mean average, and you can see most of them are bending off. So there's high confidence with a ton of models here blended into one. They're all expecting some intensity. This is a graph in the top right for intensity. So this kind of clarifies where we're looking with some outliers, obviously. So far this is staying a little west of Bermuda. So many storms over the years have split that gap between Bermuda and the East Coast. It's just crazy how that happens. But if you look at the averages, it looks like it's going to try to split that gap. Here's another one that kind of shows you where we're at, all the models. It's all the big dogs. H. Monworth, Haas, Official. They're trending a little farther to the south. The latest gray line is the official line. Haas bending a little bit more south there. I was going to bring that up to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands there. A couple models are really close to you. Again, that would be probably Monday, maybe? Monday next week. So we're going to take a look at the Haas models, dipping a little bit low. When I say the consensus line, that's usually your official line. That's the gray one right there. So we have a couple more dipping a little farther south. Here's the humidity we're talking about. So it's, I saw this the other day and I didn't really understand it. I'm like, because we saw all that dusty, dry air out there. And I'm like, well, how can it maintain humidity? Well, if you look at that water vapor map this morning, you can see it's pulling in from the north. So one thing about it going a little to the north, it was able to feed off of more moisture there. So pretty fascinating, right? Sea surface temperatures are going to slowly start to climb. This is the middle graph. Wind shear is going to be bouncing around a little bit. The wind shear's right along now doesn't really deter it too much. It actually helps kind of spin it a little bit, especially when you have southern winds coming in. Overall, wind shear might increase a little bit down the road, 20 knots. So that's that. Okay, let's look at some models here. This is how we used to always do it. I want to look at the Euro AI. This has all been a little tricky because the Euro AI this season has not really been too impressive to me. Because it's been trending a bigger fan and a little more west on this system. But you got to point it out because, the Euro AI did pretty good last year. Now, the operational runs aren't going any farther west. So the only thing tricky with these Euro AI ensembles is it seems like it has a lot bigger fan. But it's also keeping a lot more members east or west. West. I always screw it up once a day. So just pointed out there, time frame again. If we get back to the Atlantic, tropical Atlantic here, it didn't pop up there. Let's go to Atlantic, Southwest Atlantic. All right, so timing again. Let's see, let's say this is all right. Well, here let's do. All right, so this is tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that graphic I showed earlier showed Sunday morning here. If we were to get one in there's a couple ensembles going down in the Caribbean, so definitely want to watch this. That's why I mentioned Caribbean. I googled Caribbean today, and it groups together the Bahamas. Does anybody live in the Bahamas? I didn't know what to call the Bahamas and the Caribbean and the Turks and Caicos, but then I looked it up, and it looks like you could say Caribbean, and everybody understands it's Bahamas, the Turks, South. Is that correct? And then here's your, Euro AI showing. So there's not zero models not hitting the Bahamas or going towards the lower U.S. So, and these are quite strong. I mean, most of these are all hurricane strength. Once it gets into that Western Atlantic water temps are incredibly hot. That's definitely something we've talked about a lot. Is these Western Atlantic water temperatures, talking about that area in the past has had a very explosive, hurricanes that really feed off of that warm water. So that's what we got to watch. Euro AI, I don't know. Just didn't use them last year, and it just seems like this year there's been a lot of west bias to it. However, it's supposed to be good. So just laying it out there. All right, so we always just look at individual runs. Let's look at all these on Tropical Tidbits and show you where they're at. This is the 6C GFS. Back in the day, we didn't even look at ensembles, but that still gives you an idea. This is staying north of the Caribbean. This is Saturday. notice behind it. Really nothing showing for a while. There's that curve close to Bermuda. Timing there would probably begin downhill late Monday into Tuesday. If it goes that way, there's that curve. Really nothing behind it. Like, where's that wave train at? The last 00Z run on the GFS, almost the same. There's a little wave popping here. And it doesn't really do anything with it. So there you go. There's the two of those runs. Let's look at the last couple of Euros. Remember, there's a lot of stuff going on in the Atlantic right now. Okay, we got this little yellow dot that's way up here, low pressure area, right here. We got, this little area here. We got this dot here. All this is keeping that Bermuda high weaker, allowing more of a gap. We got a Canadian cold front coming across, so there's really nothing like really showing as this high would have to get big right now. And it's been the year of the fronts. You've heard me say that. These fronts have been the storylines so far. And as long as they're into the picture, this will have a hard time not curving and find that gap like the Euro is showing there. See that? Here's that Canadian front on the weekend here. You can see it, and it kind of makes a door opening, and it follows it. That's been the theme from day one. Haven't really seen anything other than that. So again, north of the islands here over the weekend. We're just at this point watching for any ticks to the west. It's moving fast now. Definitely expected to really expand size, possibly, and strength as it slows down and reacts to that turn. Latest Euro AI, very similar. Here is a Friday, Saturday, and it goes a little farther to the west, but then it turns. Here's another system coming in behind, as expected. This is kind of the setup we were talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's typical distancing this time of year. Some of the models are going to pick it up, some aren't, but that's kind of where we're at. That's Euro AI. Last run on the Euro AI. There's our system here, late Sunday. There's our couple little waves coming in behind it. So remember, the Euro AI was the only one really showing this thing in the Gulf, hitting the East Coast. It had a west bias run, and it's not doing that now. Canadian, this Sunday, there's our system, and it's showing a curve with a possible system behind. So I mean, that's where we're at. One of the runs yesterday, the Canadian went a little bit farther off to the west. So I think we pretty much got a handle on this thing. That there's, if you're worried about the Gulf, if you're worried about the East Coast U.S., there's nothing to worry about, obviously. I mean, there's just nothing right now that I would raise the alarm on other than to be alert. We've seen systems in the past change. It all depends on what it does the next couple of days. If it, fizzles out, stays weak, stays west, we've seen that over the time where a system will dry up and every run goes a little to the west. We've seen them go all the way to Mexico sometimes that were supposed to occur because they just never could get reorganized. So as long as it's got that core spin, we've seen that over the years. Any system that maintains tight spinach, which this one does, is very tight. Small though, but there it is. And yeah. What would cause this thing to go more west? Well, we look at the steering maps, and they're kind of keeping that west plug. The anticipation is if it were to have developed, then naturally we would want to get stronger and pull to the north. If it stayed weaker, it would probably not be able to pull north, and it might go a little more to the west. And then, then you start dealing with mountains and a lot of other factors. But if it high pressure built it just a little bit and nudged it a little south, and it was a little weaker. That would be one of these what if scenarios if it did go a little west. But that's a lot of what ifs. But that's what it would take. Website's all updated. I got the key messages, obviously, all these cool graphics. Track it on Zoom. We got a satellite page. We got storm products, wind analysis, microwave imagery. A lot of folks asked me about this yesterday. Well, it's up there now. This examines the core of the system. And you can see the core is getting a little tight, starting to get a little bit of eye there. You see that? That was the last 24 hours. But that's what they use a lot of times to see what's going on underneath. That's all I got to say about that. Oh, yeah, the A-Bear box. Why not? Let's talk about that. So there's a fascinating box, two of them actually. These little boxes right here. Okay, so there's a theory. 20 degrees is the magic number. 20 degrees. 60 degrees, 2060. So any long-time hurricane tracker will tell you, right, Joe? Any strong hurricane, I think it has to be a Cat 3 or greater, that has passed through these boxes has eventually impacted South Florida. There's no science to it. Not every storm's done it. There's been a lot of storms that have done it. It's just a theory that a gentleman, not a theory, had a lot of scientific data in it, but it is fascinating. So when you hear about the A-Bear box, I got a link on the site. It's right here if you want to read about it. Right there. Boom, boom, right there. And A-Bear, I used to say Hebert, like sherbet ice cream. It's A-Bear, A-Y-B-E-A-R, A-Bear. And he observed in the late 70s most strong hurricanes, 110 or greater, that have struck South Florida since 1900 also passed through one of these small windows. I said, all of them. 1926 Hurricane 2833, Donna, Betsy, Charlie, Wilma, Irma, Ian, all went through the A-Bear box. Now there's obviously one on the Caribbean side, or the Western Caribbean side. Those are for the ones coming up to the north. It wouldn't be ones going this direction. Well, maybe it would be actually. I don't know. There are more systems that brew in the Yucatan there and come up to the north, like Ian did. So it's just, that's what that's about. I don't know if it's every storm, but it generally means that it's low enough that it doesn't react to the high pressure or any cold front gaps that we're talking about. When a system pulls a little bit to the north, it starts to feel those upper level wind steering influence a little bit more. So if it stays below that, sometimes enough high pressure will develop between those lows coming down to allow a little more clockwise rotation farther to the west. And that's why that makes sense. So that'll be interesting, right? Right. Hey, Harold, good morning. What's up? Who else we got? Let's do a couple more chats. Irma 2.0. I don't know. I got a lot of heat on that post, just showing how things can change. So any specific question, Barris? Thank you. Anybody new in chat? Anybody Brew Crew over there popping in? We got 100 over there. What's up, Brew Crew? Brew Crew, MJO, Mike Soul. We're supposed to be in an enhanced phase right now. Kind of are. Oh, I wasn't the one. I got to change that, by the way. But we are. There's a better graphic that I found the other day on the current page. We're definitely in a what the hell is that? MJ. Oh, what the hell, man? I keep hitting the wrong link. Where's it at? Oh, where the hell's? I had a good link. Oh, there it is right here. Why is it not? Oh, because I'm looking. It's so zoomed, I didn't even notice it was the right page. But anyway, I think I wanted to do this GFS one. I think I wanted to do this one right here. And this is a little bit more showing you where we're at, which we're kind of in a a rising air phase, which I have a cool graphic over here explaining all that, which allows a little bit more convectional pop. And that's what we're seeing here in the Gulf. You can see little weak low pressure. This is that same blob that brought Lee and Collier counties and Pinellas County a lot of flooding. It did go to the northwest. No real sign of any low pressure other than that more of a trophy setup. That's 500. Actually, we might have a little 800. We got a little bit actually. There's a little bit of spin right over New Orleans. So we got a little bit of spin. This is that same little system that kind of did that. That big blob from Sunday. Then it was the big bend blob. So that's all I got. I did a little video this morning. We're going to do one this afternoon after the 12Z models run. Aaron, you're welcome. Lord Andrew. Oh, thank you, buddy. Yeah, well, Gus, we watched the movie. I watched that, went to Dad just today. I watched the McDonald's movie again with him. I just was fascinated by the story of McDonald's. Reggie King, what's up? From where? Wabasso. What the heck is Wabasso? Tell me more. That's a good point, Dylan. Don't say it's missing us until it's. So what's the best model this year, Dylan? So far, I think it's the Euro. Always the Euro, not the GFS. And the Euro AI hasn't been that great. Let's take a look at the Google AI, by the way, because Google AI, they were all saying was amazing last year. Once we have a true center, I don't think these AI models are very good when it comes to predicting low pressure systems until they've actually been predicted. But here's the Google, and it looks pretty much like everybody else, passing Bermuda a little bit, so close to the Virgin Islands, and it's predicting a Cat 3. This would be Tuesday. Few ensembles going around, getting close. So, I can see where, if you say the East Coast should be watching, then it sounds like you're predicting it. But it's how do you say, you don't want to say there's no chance this thing's going to hit when you still have outliers. And we know other storms have dipped a little farther to the south right here. See this little dip? We know that if it dips just a little bit more, then it might turn a little later. There's just so many variables. So all we can really do is watch it real time. And when we see a trend developing, then we talk about it. But that's a pretty good graphic. I might share it. That's a new Google. We'll see. Like I said, formation-wise, I don't think it's doing very well. I think it's got its fame last year when once we have an established low pressure center. So some of those other graphics that I talked about, if you really want to play with them, this Brian and this Tang graphic here, I love it because it gives you the last, for example. All right, so here is the last few runs of the NHC official track. Darker is the most recent one, and that was your 6Z 5 a.m. Update. But you can see the first two were over here, and now we got this. So, it has bumped a little to the west. And we can look at other models like GFS, kind of back and forth. Now it's kind of back in the middle again. The UK doesn't have a lot of runs. The H-Wharf still a little bit lower than its private, So the first run of the H-Wharf was a day ago, basically a day and a half ago, and it was, was expecting it to be, farther north and not so much to the west. So, this is the latest track, and it's awfully close to the islands here. It wasn't a day ago. It expected it to be in the light blue line. The HAFS B models, kind of similar, it pretty close. That's why, we're really paying attention to Caribbean there first. They are on the edge of the cone. And notice the Haas B here really takes a big dip with a high pressure building back in. The H-Mon still lower, today, not a lot, but notice the same bend. Canadian trends about the same. Expecting a hard turn there. Consensus models have pretty much stayed with every run a little more bump left, which is west, but there's our curve to the north. A couple of them, extending that curve a little bit. So good stuff, right? All your ensembles are located here. You can play around with it. Ensembles and different graphs. These get shared a lot. Circling averages, and you got the euro and stuff. So if you really want to look at all the scenarios, pretty great website. And then the Tomer Berg site is even cool. I don't know. Let's see. There it is. There we go. This is a good chart. A lot of people ask me, what's the prior track? This is where it's at. You can see it's taking that little dip south. We can see where the sea surface temperatures are on this map and where the expected NHC cone is. We have multi-model guidance. We can look at all the models, kind of like Tropical Tidbits, same on that one. But then we have track densities that we're kind of averaging on that one. But then we have multi-model guidance. No, I might have lost you. Nope, man, froze up there for a second. Super ensemble plots are great because it blends in all the models. And if we go in time, there you go. And it kind of, red is the euro, green is GFS, black's deterministic ensemble mean. So, there's your overall thinking, and you can look at other things like ensemble means and just really get all the data and so cool stuff. Thank you, Carol. Oh, Redman, yeah. So we got a party coming up. We got our Spaghetti Model IPA going to be hanging out at Tampa Bay Brew Company Friday, August the 29th, 5 to 7 p.m. right here in West Chase, Oldsmar. Then the Spaghetti Model IPA will be spread around the state to ABC Fine Wine and Spirits. Got an awesome little tribute to Hunter on there this year, and can't wait for that. So cool. Well, let's see. Virgin Islands, yes, you should be aware. I wouldn't be worried in the Virgin Islands, but I would definitely be aware of these little shifts to the west. Okay, I'm not making it up. It's just they're definitely more to the west than they were yesterday before we get that turn. And some of the models are showing it really intensify before then. We had one down in the 932 range, which is pretty strong little system. So I wouldn't be worried. Ruth, my gut's still not thinking it's a Florida storm at this point. I mean, you have to say yes or no. Otherwise, anybody can say maybe. I just don't see anything right now that would indicate to raise the question mark more. Okay, so yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and that's it. So we'll be doing it tomorrow. You can bring me down some firewood. Chris is in Georgia. Slower development works for the U.S., Tim. Yeah, I mean, typically, yes, slower developing systems will usually drive a little bit more west. So it's just tough to message something that's so against what you're seeing, And right now, with all that instability in the Atlantic, this system looks like it's just got a lot of things that's making it turn. And once that Atlantic clears out and high pressure might build back in, which I'm sure the Euro is showing, the Euro AI. Oh, because the wave after is showing a little bit more chance. So here's the wave after. But this is what the Euro AI did before too. So Friday the 22nd, this would be Aaron. Notice the high pressure here. And then here's our next system. So if we do get a gap or some sort of a high pressure block, then yeah, anything's going to want to go more that way. So that, the next system, we're having such a hard time predicting this system, but that's why the Euro AI is going with the next system more west. And the Canadians kind of doing it too, but man, we guess that's more than 10 days, man. We can't really get going on something like that right now. Here's that next system in 10 days popping here. So that's, that's how we could, see that. But like, for example, right now, like if you were to look at right here, this is Saturday, this is Sunday. We have this low pressure, basically just creating a lot of low pressure here. And really, that's why there's this not a very strong high presence right now this weekend. That's logically where we're at. And if we look at European Ensemble 500 for Sunday, you can really see this. So here's Monday, the 18th, 500 millibar. But we got the high here and really no high here. And so what does that tell you? Like, that's the gap. Upper level steering. GFS the same. Almost no high, high here, big gap. So that's what I think right now. All right. So we're gonna keep it over to Brew Crew. We got some new Brew Crewers we want to say hello to. And Chip looks kind of new. Oh yeah, you just said you're new to the crew. How about that? We need a cowbell. But we're gonna keep it short and sweet on the Brew Crew side too. At 10:30, I gotta log into my Zoom meeting. So we'll be live tomorrow. No big changes expected today. No big worries. Just be aware. Caribbean first. Still several days away to iron this out. And Eastern U.S. just keep one eye open as always in the tropics. But right now there's nothing indicating anything to raise that alert level yet. And until we see something change, then we'll do that. But right now there's not. So there's more saying it's not going to hit the Eastern U.S. R. That's how we've always done it. All right. So we'll